Lin Wanqiu, you vixen. What kind of sorcery did you use to seduce the emperor?
I was staring at a table full of sumptuous breakfast, drooling. Hearing this, I sighed. Your Highness, seducing the emperor is way too exhausting. I honestly don't have the time for it. But if you take 3 more steps forward, the brick under your feet is going to crack.
Absurd. My shoes have soft soles embroidered with gold thread. How on earth could they crack a stone brick?
Sneering, noble consort Li took a step forward. With a sharp crack, the flat stone brick actually split into 4 pieces. Noble consort Li lost her balance and fell headfirst into the nearby lotus pond.
Help! Help!
The scene instantly descended into chaos. Seizing the chaos, I stuffed a shrimp dumpling into my mouth and silently thought to myself, the divinations never lie. You really can win by doing nothing. It's just a bit hard on the noble consorts. Half an hour later, noble consort Li was fished out of the pond. She was crying like a rain-soaked pear blossom, demanding that the emperor chop off my head. Fu Jingyun sat on his throne, looking at me with a half-smile.
Lady Ling, care to explain what happened with the brick?
I swallowed the shrimp dumpling in my mouth and replied calmly, Your Majesty, the ground beneath that brick was already hollowed out by termites. Her Grace the noble consort was a bit too imposing today, coupled with her extraordinary leg strength. It naturally just cracked.
Oh. Then, in your opinion, where else in this palace is unstable?
I scanned the surroundings, and suddenly my gaze locked onto the person beside Consort Li, her personal maid. The maid's eyes were darting guiltily, and her right hand was clutching her hem in a death grip. Your Majesty, whether the bricks are stable is trivial. What matters is whether one's heart is steady. I slowly walked up to the maid. That packet hidden in your sleeve, is it to soothe her Grace's nerves, or is it to silence her forever? The maid's face drained of color instantly, and she fell to her knees with a thud. Upon being searched, a packet of highly toxic crane red poison was revealed. Consort Li was dumbfounded. Fu Jingyun's eyes darkened. Meanwhile, amid the general shock, I silently slipped back into the corner, thinking, now I can finally eat my meal in peace, right? Ever since I exposed the mole in Consort Li's palace, my reputation in the harem went completely off the rails. Some said I was a celestial being descended to earth, who could foresee the future. Others said I was a 1,000-year-old fox demon, skilled in soul-capturing arts. I scoffed at all of it, and still holed up in my side palace every day, pondering whether to have braised lion's head meatballs for lunch, or steamed sea bass. But trouble always has a way of finding me. The Empress fell ill. It was a mysterious illness. The imperial physicians searched through all the medical texts but still couldn't find the cause. They only said it was due to excessive worry, and her spirit was unstable. Though Fu Jingyun was still suspicious of me, he couldn't care less about that now. He dragged me out of my warm bed in the dead of night
to see what on earth was wrong with the Empress.
With my hair looking like a bird's nest, I yawned my way into Fengyi Palace. The moment I stepped inside, a rich fragrance wafted over me. It was a cool, distant scent, like winter plum blossoms after a snowfall. Exceedingly pleasant. It smells so good.
This is a garwood specially sent by Her Highness, the noble consort. She said it would soothe the nerves and help with sleep. Her Majesty indeed managed to sleep for a bit after using it, but she only woke up feeling even weaker.
I walked up to the Empress's bedside, looking down at the Qian dynasty's most noble woman. Her once dignified face was now shrouded in a deathly, ash-grey pallor. Her breathing was so faint it was almost inaudible. I reached out my hand and gently tapped the Empress's forehead. Wangu-yi. Activate. In an instant, my vision shifted. I was no longer looking at the luxurious chamber, but a massive web, woven from black, malevolent energy, tightly shrouding the entire Fengyi Palace, and the wisps of smoke rising from the incense burner were turning into slender, ghostly hands, greedily draining the Empress's vital essence. I let out a cold sneer, and kicked the incense burner right over. This is no agarwood. This is soul-draining incense.
Lin Wanqiu, have you lost your mind?
Fu Jingyun roared. Ignoring him, I reached into my robes, pulled out a suspicious-looking black pill, shoved it into the Empress's mouth, and smacked her hard on the back. The Empress bolted upright. She spat out a mouthful of foul, black blood. The black blood splattered on the ground, and actually writhed like a living thing, emitting a nauseating stench.
What is this?
Fu Jingyun stared in shock at the black blood on the ground. I wiped the sweat off my hands, my face slightly pale. It's Gu. Someone mixed powder from a mother Gu into the incense. Once the Empress inhaled it, the child Gu inside her was awakened, slowly gnawing away at her organs.
Consort Li again.
I shook my head, looking behind the screen. No, it's not her. Consort Li doesn't have the brains for this. This plot is ingeniously designed, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It not only harms the Empress, but also frames the noble consort. The one who profits in the end is the real culprit.
Who?
I smiled. pointing to the plum blossoms outside the window. Whoever loves plum blossoms the most is the real culprit. Fu Jingyun's pupils contracted sharply. That's Consort Ru, a woman who was usually so gentle and quiet, and never competed for favor. That night, Consort Ru's bedchamber was heavily surrounded by the imperial guards. They found not only soul-luring incense, but also a cursed doll inscribed with the emperor's birth chart, and pierced with needles. As Consort Ru was being dragged away, she passed by me, her glare as venomous as a viper's.
Lin Wanshou, you ruined my grand plan. You will die a horrible death.
Consort Ru, when you scheme in your next life, remember to change the scent of the incense. This plum blossom scent is far too tacky. I don't like it. After dealing with Consort Ru, Fu Jingyun's gaze toward me changed completely. It was a mix of appreciation, wariness, and some indescribable emotion.
Lin Wanshou, what exactly do you want?
I thought about it seriously. Finally, I pointed toward the cold palace. I want to go back to the cold palace. It's quiet there, nobody tries to harm me, and nobody disturbs my sleep. Fu Jingyun sneered, suddenly leaning close to me, his warm breath brushing against my ear.
Want to go back to the cold palace? In your dreams. Starting today, you are promoted to Consort Ling. Guard this Chenquan palace for me. If I'm ever afflicted by Jiyu, I'll strangle you first.
I wanted to cry, but no tears came. So much for lying flat to victory. How is it that my rank keeps rising, while my workload just gets heavier and heavier? My peaceful days didn't last long. A major crisis struck the Great Qian dynasty. A severe drought hit the southern border. Not a single drop of rain fell for half a year. The land cracked for thousands of miles, leaving the people in utter misery. The imperial court was in utter chaos. The old men of the imperial observatory knelt all over the floor, claiming it was a punishment from heaven, and that an evil spirit was ruining the country. Needless to say, that evil spirit was me. Under immense pressure, Fu Jingyun sat in the imperial study for 3 days and nights. When I pushed the door open to bring him, he was staring blankly at the map.
Lin Wanshou, can you predict when it will rain?
I took a bite of my peach blossom pastry. I can't. The will of heaven cannot be defied. Whether it rains or not is not my concern. Fu Jingyu whipped his head around, his eyes heavily bloodshot.
But my people are dying. With 100,000 victims in the south. If I cannot bring rain, my empire will fall into chaos.
Seeing how exhausted he looked, my heart stirred slightly. Though this emperor has a bit of a temper, he is indeed a good ruler. I put down the pastry, walked over to the map, and pointed to a barren mountain in the southwest. I can't summon rain, but I can help you find water.
Right here. But that place is notorious for being a barren wasteland. Not even grass grows there.
Grass doesn't grow, because there's something buried in the soil. My gaze turned slightly cold. As I told him, 9 dragon-locking nails are buried beneath that mountain, blocking the water veins of the south. Once those nails are pulled out, the water will flow naturally. Fu Jingyun stared at me, his gaze clear and sharp.
Dragon-locking nails? That is an ancient forbidden art. Who would have such capability?
Whoever wants to destabilize your empire has that capability. Fu Jingyun lowered his head, lost in thought, remaining silent for a long moment. I brushed the pastry crumbs off my hands, and said softly, Your Majesty, do you dare to make a bet with me? If I pull out those nails, you give me 10,000 taels of gold. Plus, the menu of the imperial kitchen will be decided by me. Fu Jingyun looked at me, and suddenly smiled. There was a hint of madness in his smile.
Very well. I shall go wild with you this once.
3 days later, we secretly arrived at that barren mountain, accompanied only by a few trusted imperial guards. The mountain wind was biting, carrying a foul scent of decay. Standing on the mountaintop, I closed my eyes, feeling the tremors deep underground. Found it. I sliced my finger open, letting the blood drip onto the parched earth. Instantly, the entire mountain began to shake violently. Countless cracks, like a spiderweb, began to spread. A plume of thick black smoke billowed out from deep underground, accompanied by piercing, blood-curdling shrieks. Myriad GU, return to one. Harness the Earth's energy to unlock the water veins. I stared intently at the center of the rift. There, a pitch-black spike was faintly visible, swarming with vengeful spirits. Come out, I roared, as the GU worms inside me surged frantically. But just as I was about to touch the dragon-locking nail, a cold gleam lunged out from the side, aiming straight for my throat.
Lin Wanshou, watch out.
Fu Jingyun lunged forward, shielding me from the blade. The assassin was a masked figure in black. His aura was incredibly eerie, unexpectedly sharing the same origin as my GU technique. My senior brother, Lu Ziheng, was currently holding his sword, standing dazed in the rain. In all his life, he probably had never witnessed such a scene. The junior sister he risked his life to save was busy feeding medicine to the so-called tyrant, without even sparing him a single glance. Fu Jinyu was severely wounded. The blood on his shoulder had stained his imperial robe a dark purple. He was twitching uncontrollably from the pain, yet he still stubbornly stiffened his neck, glaring at me as if I were a class enemy. senior brother.
Lin Wanshou. If you dare to leave with him, I will surely raid your sect.
Give it a rest, your majesty. My sect is hidden deep in the remote mountains. If you send troops, you'd have to build roads first. Think of the cost. While brushing off the emperor, I flicked an immobilizing bone at my senior brother. Before Lu Ziheng even had a chance to deliver his grand speech about saving the world, he froze in his sword-drawing pose, stuck in place, looking exactly like a stone lion struck by lightning. Ignoring the sheer shock in my senior brother's eyes, I turned to look at the parched earth. As the lock dragon nail was loosened by the earth's energy, the previously dead silent mountaintop suddenly echoed with a deep rumble. Right after, a crystal-clear geyser erupted from the ground, shooting straight into the clouds. The heavens, having held it in for over 6 months, seemed to have finally found a release, and a torrential downpour instantly blanketed the land. The rain washed away the bloodstains on Fu Jinyu's face, and dissolved the murderous intent in his eyes. As he watched the greenery spring up across the hills, he was completely dumbfounded. The rain washed away the bloodstains on Fu Jinyu's face, and dissolved the murderous intent in his eyes. As he watched the greenery spring up across the hills, he was completely dumbfounded. Your Majesty, it's raining. Remember about the 10,000 taels of gold. If it's short by a single coin, I'll block this water vein right back up. Fu Jinyu wiped the rainwater from his face. Seeing how money-mad I looked, he suddenly looked down and chuckled. At that moment, in his eyes, I seemed to see a hint of something called indulgence. News of the successful rain prayer in the Southern Territory traveled faster than my sedan chair back to the capital. By the time I stepped into Qianquan Palace, I realized I had upgraded from a wicked witch to the living lucky koi of the Dacian dynasty. Before, whenever the other concubines saw me, they wished they could spit at me. But now, they are all smiles like blooming flowers, and the gifts they sent are piled higher than a wall. Lounging on my rocking chair, I watched Xiaotsui bustle in and out to inventory the gifts, calculating in my head how many meals of braised pork these things could buy. Xiaotsui, stop counting. It's making me dizzy. Keep that pure gold ruyi, and exchange the rest for cash. Just as I was basking in the joy of getting rich, Fu Jingyun showed up uninvited again. Keep that pure gold ruyi, and exchange the rest for cash. Just as I was basking in the joy of getting rich, Fu Jingyun showed up uninvited again, with thick bandages wrapped around his shoulder. It didn't stop him in the slightest from swaggering in like he owned the place. He casually flipped through my gift list, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Clearly, he was shocked by my money-grubbing behavior of stripping everyone clean.
Consort Ling, you certainly have a good head for business. My imperial treasury isn't even full yet, but your side haul has already struck it rich.
Your Majesty, this is called hard work pays off. More work, more pay. Your servant earned this hard cash with her own skills. Fu Jinyu didn't reply. He just sat next to me in silence, and casually picked up the half-eaten pastry I had left. Honestly, I could tell that his recent visits here were no longer for fortune-telling or praying for rain. Instead, he was just looking for a quiet place to escape and relax. Even as the esteemed son of heaven, he was watched even when eating a pastry. Seeing how exhausted he looked, for once, I didn't charge him for that half-eaten pastry. To celebrate the victory in the southern border, I decided to whip up something new in the palace. I had the imperial chefs running around in circles under my command. Drenched in sweat, they were busy brewing spicy chili oil. When the spicy fragrance, mingled with the rich aroma of beef tallow, drifted through the air, the entire palace was boiling with excitement. To celebrate the victory in the southern border, I decided to whip up something new in the palace. I had the imperial chefs running around in circles under my command. Drenched in sweat, they were busy brewing spicy chili oil. When the spicy fragrance, mingled with the rich aroma of beef tallow, drifted through the air, the entire palace was boiling with excitement. Fu Jingyun followed his nose right to me. When he walked in, I was squatting on a tiny stool, holding a pair of long chopsticks, staring at the bubbling chili oil in the pot. My gaze was more focused than if I were looking at gold.
Lin Wanshou, are you refining pills or trying to poison someone?
Come quick, Your Majesty. This is called hot pot, an absolute delicacy. Just one bite, and I guarantee all your worries will melt away. Fu Jingyun sat down, half skeptical. Following my lead, he picked up a slice of tripe and swished it up and down in the broth. With his first bite, his face instantly changed color, turning as red as a cooked crab, frantically looking for water to drink.
Ridiculous. This taste is like fire in my throat.
Though he voiced his disgust, the chopsticks in his hand seemed to have a mind of their own, constantly reaching back into the pot. Before long, this most noble man in the Dacian dynasty began to unbutton his collar. This most noble man in the Dacian dynasty began to unbutton his collar. Drenched in sweat, he fought me for the last slice of beef. Steam rose in the courtyard. As the red oil bubbled, I looked at Fu Jingyun, completely losing his composure from the heat, and felt utterly amused. In this deep palace, there are too many rules. Everyone lives like a lifeless puppet, only in the steam of this hot pot. Did he seem like a real person who sweats and gasps at the spice, while the hot pot's flavor still lingered on my tongue? Trouble climbed right over the courtyard wall. My senior brother, Lu Ziheng. His wall climbing skills were truly top-notch. To him, the Imperial Guards were like thin air. I was sitting on the roof, digesting my food, enjoying the cool evening breeze, when a low sigh came from behind me.
Wanxiu, do you really intend to stay in this quagmire for the rest of your life? The dragon-locking nail was only the beginning. The mastermind behind it won't let you go.
I swung my legs, gazing at the moon, thinking my senior brother is great in every aspect. He just worries too much. He thinks the Emperor has totally bewitched me. Truth is, I just can't bear to part with the food here. Senior brother, it's so windy and rainy out there. How could it compare to the comfort here? Besides, the Emperor still owes me tens of thousands of taels of gold. If I leave, who's going to collect that debt for me? Just as Lu Ziheng was about to lose his temper, a cold gleam suddenly flashed from the shadow of the trees. Unbeknownst to them, Fu Jingyun was already standing in the center of the garden. It's so windy and rainy out there. How could it compare to the comfort here? Besides, the Emperor still owes me tens of thousands of taels of gold. If I leave, who's going to collect that debt for me? Just as Lu Ziheng was about to lose his temper, a cold gleam suddenly flashed from the shadow of the trees. Unbeknownst to them, Fu Jingyun was already standing in the center of the garden. The long sword in his hand gleamed with an icy chill under the moonlight. He didn't say a word, simply staring coldly at the dark figure on the rooftop. The temperature in the air instantly dropped to freezing point, silencing even the once cheerful chirping of the insects.
My beloved consort is not for the martial world to worry about. Should there be a next time, I wouldn't mind turning you into fertilizer for my garden.
Senior brother snorted coldly, giving me a long, deep look. Then, with a flash of his figure, he vanished into the vast night. Fu Jingyun sheathed his sword and looked up at me, his eyes harboring an inexplicable, yet undeniable anger. Your Majesty, are you out practicing your swordplay in the middle of the night? He ignored my teasing. He just stood under the tree, staring at me. I knew he was waiting for me to explain, but I just yawned again. Some things are just too tiring to explain. So I jumped straight off the roof, landing precisely in his arms. That jump last night was definitely a display of skill, an absolute style. But what I didn't expect was that even though Fu Jingyun looks quite lean, his chest was as hard as a steel plate, and even more unexpected was that I actually fell fast asleep in his arms. When the first ray of morning light shone in, I found myself wrapped like an octopus, all over Fu Jingyun, while the Emperor of the Great Gan dynasty, with a dark face, was lying stiffly on the dragon bed, with dark circles under his eyes. He had clearly not dared to close his eyes all night.
Lin Wanxiu, if your hand moves up even 1 more inch, I will show you what resting in peace really means.
Your Majesty, quiet down. This human cushion is actually quite comfy. Let me sleep for 5 more minutes. I mumbled, rolling over to go back to sleep. Fu Jingyun let out a frustrated laugh and grabbed me by the back of my collar, like hoisting a kitten, dragging me out of bed, with my hair looking like a messy bird's nest. I looked at him with sleepy eyes. The wound on his shoulder had already scabbed over, but with me pressing on it all night, it seemed to be bleeding a little again. If it were any other consort, she would definitely be kneeling on the ground by now, crying and begging for mercy. But I just yawned, casually straightened my clothes, and wondered if this counted as sharing the imperial bed. Should I get paid extra? His shoulder wound had already scabbed over, but after I pressed on it all night, it probably started bleeding again. If it were any other consort, she would definitely be kneeling on the ground by now, crying out and begging for mercy. But I just yawned, casually straightened my clothes, and wondered if this counted as sharing his bed, and whether I should get paid extra.
Scram back to your side hall. From now on, without my decree, you are not allowed to step foot in this inner chamber.
Feeling like I'd just received a grand pardon, I scrambled out of there as fast as I could, as if, who'd want to stay here anyway? The rocking chair in my side hall is way more comfortable. As Fu Jingyun watched me flee in panic, his tense expression actually softened a bit. He probably found it quite novel that someone in this palace wasn't afraid of him at all, and even treated him like a cushion, which was indeed a rarity. Although Fu Jingyun helped me hold off those old men, the director of the Imperial Astronomical Bureau, Lord Zhong, whose white beard reached his chest, was still extremely stubborn. He insisted that my all GU-in-1 was sorcery, that would shake the foundation of the state. So, with Fu Jingyun's tacit approval, I was invited to the Imperial Observatory. They called it an academic exchange, but they actually just wanted to see me make a fool of myself. The main hall was filled with all kinds of astrolabes and compasses. Lord Zhong led a group of white-bearded old men, glaring at me like hungry tigers. The main hall was filled with all kinds of astrolabes and compasses. Lord Zhong led a group of white-bearded old men, glaring at me like hungry beasts.
Consort Ling. Since you can summon rain, you must have some brilliant insights into celestial phenomena. How do you view this omen of Mars guarding Antares?
I wouldn't call it a brilliant insight, Lord Zhong. I only know that, if you keep staring at that star chart like that, the hairpin at the back of your head is going to fall out. The moment the words left my mouth, Lord Zhong's hairpin actually slipped out, and his white hair instantly tumbled down, making him look comically like a lion with bristled fur. All the old scholars were completely dumbfounded. Truth is, I didn't read the stars at all. It's just that when I walked in earlier, I noticed his hairpin was extremely crooked. Calculating the time, it was about due to fall out. The stars are too far away, but human hearts are much closer. Lord Zhong, instead of reading the stars, why don't you calculate whether your wife has a washboard ready for you to kneel on tonight? Lord Zhong's old face flushed red, and he stammered, completely speechless. These people always love to overcomplicate the simplest things. Honestly, life isn't that deep or mysterious. Seated high above, Fu Jingyun watched me play these stubborn old scholars, like a fiddle, a faint smile playing on his lips. He probably realized that letting me deal with these stubborn old men was far more effective than him losing his temper. Honestly, life isn't that deep or mysterious. Seated high above, Fu Jingyun watched me play these stubborn old scholars, like a fiddle, a faint smile playing on his lips. He probably realized that letting me deal with these stubborn old men was far more effective than him losing his temper. But the peaceful days didn't last long. The real big boss of the harem is back. The Empress Dowager spent 6 months praying at Mount Wutai, and returned to the palace today. All the concubines in the harem, dressed to the nines, and waited dutifully at the palace gate. I originally planned to play sick to get out of it, but Fu Jingyun sent a eunuch to drag me straight out of bed. When the Empress Dowager's sedan chair came to a halt, a dignified and elegant woman stepped out. With a sharp gaze, she swept her eyes over the crowd, leaving everyone too afraid to even breathe.
I hear a consort Ling has recently emerged in the palace. She can not only summon rain, but also keep the emperor, so infatuated that he won't even stay in his imperial study.
Consort Li stood nearby with a gloating smirk, her eyes practically screaming at Lin Wanqiu. Your easy days are over. Standing at the back of the crowd, I was busy looking down, studying ants moving their nest. Hearing my name called, I slowly shuffled forward, and gave a rather sloppy curtsy. You flatter me, Empress Dowager. I possess no such capabilities. Her eyes practically screaming at Lin Wanqiu. Your easy days are over. Standing at the back of the crowd, I was busy looking down, studying ants moving their nest. Hearing my name called, I slowly shuffled forward, and gave a rather sloppy curtsy. You flatter me, Empress Dowager. I possess no such capabilities. It's just that the Emperor has been a bit hot-headed lately, so I merely accompanied him to have a few hot pot meals to help him blow off some steam. The Empress Dowager was taken aback, probably because she had never encountered anyone giving such an off-the-wall reply. He stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly smiled.
What an interesting child. Since the emperor likes her, then let her stay. However, you must learn the rules of my palace step by step.
My heart sank. Learn the rules. Doesn't that mean I'll have to wake up early again? Looking at the Empress Dowager's expression, which clearly said, I'm going to whip you into shape, I suddenly felt that this slacker life still had a long, long way to go. The Empress Dowager said she would teach me the rules, but the very next afternoon, she summoned me to the Imperial Garden. I thought I'd have to kneel and copy scriptures, but instead, I found the stone table, laden with exquisite tea snacks. The Empress Dowager was reclining on a daybed, rubbing her temples, looking utterly exhausted. It seemed that her retreat at Mount Wutai had failed to cure her insomnia.
Wanqiu, I've been feeling rather uneasy lately. With your myriad GU as one technique, could you do a reading for me?
It seemed that her retreat at Mount Wutai had failed to cure her insomnia.
Wanqiu, I've been feeling rather uneasy lately. With your myriad GU as one technique, could you do a reading for me? How much longer will Da Qian's good fortune last?
Your Highness, fortune is a delicate thing. It wears thin if divined too often. If you really feel uneasy, why not learn the salted fish breathing technique from me? With that, I lay right down on the pavilion floor, folded my hands over my stomach, closed my eyes, and began to snore softly. The Empress Dowager and her senior maids were utterly dumbfounded. In this palace of strict rules and etiquette, no one had ever dared to behave this way in front of the Empress Dowager, just lying sprawled out like this.
That's it. You can invite blessings just by lying down.
Keep your mind still and your breath steady, and all those things you worry about, just let them go like a fart, and blessings will naturally come. The Empress Dowager fell silent for a long time. She actually imitated me, and slowly leaned back on the daybed. Before long, soft snoring could be heard from the pavilion. When Fu Jinyu passed by the imperial garden, this is what he saw. A bizarre sight. His most respected empress mother, and his most troublesome concubine, were lying there, one high and one low, fast asleep. Ever since that time in the pavilion, when I took a nap with the Empress Dowager, my status as consort Lin was officially secured. Ever since that time in the pavilion, when I took a nap with the Empress Dowager, my status as consort Lin was officially secured. The Empress Dowager felt that although I lacked manners, our chemistry matched perfectly. She insisted on dragging me to study secret wellness techniques. I looked at the pile on the table of precious pearl powder and ginseng, thinking to myself that the Empress Dowager was indeed eager to stay beautiful. Too bad applying these things on the face is at best just a placebo.
Wanchio, in those ancient arts of yours, is there any method to make my face a bit firmer?
Empress Dowager, of course there is a way, but this method is a bit active. You'll need to close your eyes, and absolutely do not move. I reached into my sleeve and pulled out a jar of special jade cicada GU. This little guy doesn't bite. They specialize in massaging acupoints, and clearing the meridians. Once I placed them on the Empress Dowager's face, several tiny, translucent dots started pulsing rhythmically. The head maid watched from the side, her face turning pale, wringing her handkerchief into a tight knot, ready to shout for the guards at any second. Meanwhile, I sat calmly on the side, casually grabbing a piece of imperial pastry bestowed by the Empress Dowager.
It's so warm, and feels like countless tiny hands massaging my face. My head, which has been tense my entire life, finally feels completely relaxed.
Looking at the Empress Dowager's blissful expression, I chuckled to myself. This is no mere GU art. This is a purely natural, living massager. Looking at the Empress Dowager's blissful expression, I chuckled to myself. This is no mere GU art. This is a purely natural, living massager. In this palace, everyone else is scheming to climb the ranks, but the Empress Dowager is only scheming on how to get me to do her beauty treatments every day. When Fu Jingyun walked in, what he saw was his mother with GU worms crawling on her face, while I, with zero decorum, was cracking melon seeds nearby. He opened his mouth to speak, but ultimately said nothing. He just sat down quietly on the side. Perhaps this was the harmony he had always wanted. No vying for favor, no tantrums, just a few people, each with their own thoughts, spending this afternoon, enjoying a brief moment of absurd peace. Lately, Fu Jingyun has been acting a bit strange. He no longer reviews memorials until midnight. Instead, he visits my place right on the dot every day, and whenever he comes, he always catches me sorting through the thank you gifts sent by the consorts. Noble consort Li sent a gold-threaded pillow. Consort De sent a century-old Lingji mushroom. Even the talents, who are usually so aloof, sent over hand-embroidered handkerchiefs. My side hall is almost turning into a shopping mall for the harem.
Your popularity, consort Ling, really makes me see you in a new light. This room full of treasures is probably richer than my private treasury. Your popularity, consort Ling, really makes me see you in a new light. This room full of treasures is probably richer than my private treasury.
Your Majesty, this is called paying for knowledge. I taught them how to get a good night's sleep, so it's only fair they pay some tuition. Fu Jinyu, he casually grabbed the soft pillow from noble consort Li, and squeezed it twice to vent his frustration. The look in his eyes was just like a neglected little wife. The smell of jealousy could be smelled from miles away. I actually knew why he was sulking. He used to be my only VIP client. Now that I have more clients, he naturally feels less important.
Do not accept anything from noble consort Li in the future. I know exactly what she's scheming. She just wants you to put in a good word for her in front of me.
Your Majesty, you've wronged her. The noble consort is currently only interested in learning how to make hot pot soup base from me. She really has no time to bother with you. Fu Jingyun was stunned. The soft pillow fell from his hand. He probably didn't expect that his proud charm, in front of hot pot, to think he would lose so completely. As the setting sun cast long shadows over the side hall, I looked at Fu Jinyu, and his utterly defeated look. My stomach hurt from holding back my laughter. Being the emperor isn't easy either. Not only does he have to guard against assassins, he also has to watch out for his own concubines, getting lured away by hot pot. As the setting sun cast long shadows over the side hall, I looked at Fu Jinyu, and his utterly defeated look. My stomach hurt from holding back my laughter. Being the emperor isn't easy either. Not only does he have to guard against assassins, he also has to watch out for his own concubines, getting lured away by hotpot. Since everyone wanted to learn how to make hotpot, I simply started a cooking class in the side hall. Every afternoon, this place became as lively as a bustling market. Maids and eunuchs from all the palaces lined up to get their hotpot base. I lounged on a chair under the shade of the trees, directing Xiaotsui to collect the money and hand out the goods. This kind of life finally felt a bit like what I had dreamed of, making money while lying flat. But when business grows this big, it's bound to stir up some complaints. The chief eunuch came rushing over, saying that the cooks in the imperial kitchen had gone on strike. The reason was that no one was ordering the imperial meals anymore, since everyone was having hotpot in the side hall instead. This batch of cooks is really lacking. Instead of honing their craft, they only know how to tattle. Xiaotsui, send 2 cans of extra spicy soup base to the imperial kitchen. Tell them, I invite them for a culinary exchange. The chief eunuch left with the soup bases. Less than half an hour later, from the direction of the imperial kitchen, there came a continuous chorus of coughing and gasps of wonder. When Fu Jingyun came to inspect with his entourage, he saw a group of eunuchs squatting in the corner. Their eyes were tearing up from the spiciness, yet they refused to put down the steamed buns in their hands.
Lin Wanshou, is this harem of yours a palace or a bandit's den?
From the direction of the imperial kitchen, there came a continuous chorus of coughing and gasps of wonder. When Fu Jingyun came to inspect with his entourage, he saw a group of eunuchs squatting in the corner. Their eyes were tearing up from the spiciness, yet they refused to put down the steamed buns in their hands.
Lin Wanshou, is this harem of yours a palace or a bandit's den? Why do I feel that the rules of this palace have all been melted away by your pot of spicy red oil?
Your Majesty, rules are rigid, but stomachs need food. Once everyone eats their fill and feels happy, they naturally won't have the energy to plot and scheme anymore. Look, hasn't the harem been much quieter these past few days? Fu Jingyu looked around and realized she was right. The usual dramas of life and death and constant catfights in the past had recently all turned into debates like do you put sesame paste in your hot pot, and other deep culinary discussions. He sighed helplessly, casually reached into a nearby steamer, grabbed a freshly steamed bun, dipped it in some chili oil, and popped it into his mouth. At that moment, he seemed to resign himself to this fate. Rules and etiquette, how could they be more important than a full stomach? After a bustling day, the side hall finally quieted down in the dead of night. I was just about to wash up and head to bed. A snow-white carrier pigeon suddenly landed on the windowsill. It was a carrier pigeon from my sect. On its leg was tied my master's signature green bamboo tube. I was just about to wash up and call it a night, when a snow-white carrier pigeon suddenly landed on the windowsill. It was from my sect. On its leg was tied my master's signature green bamboo tube. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? The old man found out I'm selling hot pot in the palace and wants a cut of the profits. I opened the letter and took a look. On it were just a few crookedly written words. Stop wreaking havoc on the world. Know when to stop. That old man. When did I ever wreak havoc on the world? I'm clearly delivering all living beings from suffering, helping everyone add some spice to their bitter lives. There was also a line of small text on the back, left by my senior brother, Lu Ziheng. He said the mastermind behind the dragon-locking nails has already targeted the capital, and warned me to be careful in everything. Don't just sleep in all the time. I held the letter over the candle flame to burn it, watching the flames slowly consume the handwriting. Although senior brother is a bit stubborn, his intuition is usually spot on. Without my realizing it, Fu Jingyun had walked in. He stared at the ashes, a deep, unreadable look flashing in his eyes. He didn't ask what the letter said, but simply walked over to me and gently patted my shoulder.
If you are tired, go and get some rest. The walls of this Qinquan palace, I'll have them raised by another 3 feet.
Your Majesty, raising the walls won't help to keep everyone united. As long as the hot pot is spicy enough, no matter what shady characters sneak in, they'll first have to look for water. Fu Jinyu was amused by my words, and his heavy mood seemed to lighten up a lot. As long as the hot pot is spicy enough, no matter what shady characters sneak in, they'll first have to look for water. Fu Jinyu was amused by my words, and his heavy mood seemed to lighten up a lot. He pulled me to the window, pointed at the bright moon in the sky, and sighed that the realm was like a beautiful painting, adding, too bad someone always wants to ruin it with ink. I leaned against the window, and let out a huge yawn. So what if they splash ink? Anyway, I have my WANGU GUI technique. If worst comes to worst, I'll just turn that ink into seasoning. In this deep palace, as long as I can still sleep and enjoy my meat, the sky won't fall. The mastermind my senior brother mentioned in his letter was still nowhere to be seen. But in the capital, a strange illness broke out first. Word has it that those infected feel no pain or itchiness, but they keep yawning all day, only wanting to lie flat, unwilling to do any work. Fu Jingyun was worried sick. First thing in the morning, he dragged me out of my warm bed, looking at my half-asleep face. His eyes were filled with suspicion.
Lin Wanshou, this illness, no matter how I look at it, looks exactly like your salted fish laziness. Confess honestly, is it your Wangu Gui Yi that's spreading to others?
Your Majesty, you're really good at passing the buck. If I really had that kind of power, first, I'd make all the assassins in the world lie flat.
Spill the truth. Is it that 10,000 GU into one of yours that has spread to everyone?
Your Majesty, that is a very smooth way to pass the buck. If I really had that kind of power, I'd make all the assassins in the world lie flat first. Then your empire would truly be as rock solid as Mount Tai. I slowly walked to the door of the side hall, casually grabbed a handful of air, and brought it to my nose to sniff. There was a very faint scent in the air, of the Valley of Drunken Dreams. This stuff isn't toxic, it just gives people the illusion that their life is already complete, and they are all set. I went back to my room, poured a basin of water, and threw some of the hot pot, leftover dried chilies inside. Then I added a few mind-clearing pills specially made by my sect. Your Majesty, have someone take this water, and sprinkle it all over the streets of the capital. This is called Spicy Awakening. I guarantee that once they smell it, not only will they not want to lie flat, but they'll even perform a 100-meter sprint for you on the spot. Fu Jingyun was skeptical, but had someone do it anyway. In less than an hour, news came back from the capital. They said the people were hit by that spicy scent, sneezing non-stop, yet feeling completely revitalized. They worked even harder than before. With a clear conscience, I snuggled back under my blanket. A little trick like this can only fool those who haven't seen the world. As for the mastermind behind this GU, they're probably hiding in some corner right now, fuming with rage at how their plan failed. The lying flat epidemic in the capital is cured, but I've run into a big problem. A petty trick like this can only fool those who haven't seen the world. As for the mastermind behind the GU poison, I bet they are hiding in some corner right now, fuming with rage over their failed plan. The lying flat epidemic in the capital is cured, but I've run into a big problem. Because of that basin of spicy awakening dish just now, all the premium dried chilies stored in my side palace have been completely used up. Looking at the empty clay pot, Xiaotsue is on the verge of tears. No chilies means no hot pot, and no hot pot means my little side business in the harem will go bankrupt. Don't cry, Xiaotsue, go fetch my compass. Since heaven has cut off my supply, I'll divine where else there might be some secret stash. I close my eyes, rapidly spinning the compass with my fingers. The hexagram reveals 3 li straight south. A golden light is shining, radiating a powerful, spicy aura. Following the guidance of the hexagram, I search, and finally stop right at the entrance of Fu Jingyun's private treasury. This place is heavily guarded day and night. Not even a fly can get in. Just then, Fu Jingyun passes by after the morning court session, and sees me drooling at his private treasury. He instantly clutches the keys at his waist with vigilance.
Lin Wanshou, my treasury holds military funds and tributes. There is no braised pork for you here.
Your Majesty, I'm not here for meat. I just want your 2 boxes of skyward chilies from the Southern Seas tribute. He sees me drooling at his private treasury, and instantly clutches the keys at his waist with vigilance.
Lin Wanshou, my storehouse holds military funds and tribute. There is no braised pork for you.
Your Majesty, I don't need meat. I just want those 2 boxes of skyward chilies sent as tribute from the South Seas. They'll only gather dust if you keep them in the treasury, so why not give them to me? In return, I'll give you a peace amulet that lasts for a whole year. Seeing my give me the chilies, or I will never leave attitude, Fu Jingyun could only sigh helplessly. It was probably his first time seeing someone treat the emperor's private treasury like a grocery market. In the end, I got my way and carried the 2 boxes of chilies back to my hall. Standing behind, Fu Jingyun watched my joyful retreat, muttering something about me being a spendthrift consort, but I knew he secretly enjoyed it. After all, in this palace, only I would dare to so openly rob him of his things. Recently, the Empress Dowager became obsessed with raising cats. She got a pure white Persian cat, and named it Qiuqiu. But early this morning, Qiuqiu went missing. The eunuchs and maids of Shokang Palace all knelt on the floor in fear. The Empress Dowager was too anxious to even eat breakfast, insisting that I come over to do a fortune reading for Qiuqiu's whereabouts.
Wanshou, hurry up and do a reading. My dear Qiuqiu, could it have been taken by some wicked person?
Empress Dowager, the cat isn't actually lost. It just went looking for its family.
Wanshou, hurry up and do a reading. My dear Churchio, could it have been taken by some wicked person?
Empress Dowager, the cat isn't actually lost. It just went looking for its family. Look here, at the base of the wall to the southeast. Isn't there a hole? I pointed toward the hidden patch of grass. The Empress Dowager had someone clear it away to look. Sure enough, there was a small hole. I sprinkled a handful through the hole of my special cat-attracting powder. For cats, this stuff is even more irresistible than dried fish. Before long, Chio came grumbling and meowing as he crawled out of the hole. Behind him, unexpectedly, was a dirty, scruffy stray cat. The two cats nuzzled each other affectionately, completely ignoring the large crowd of people around them. The Empress Dowager was stunned. The head maid was also stunned. Who would have thought that this pampered Persian cat would actually find love in the palace?
This is completely improper. Is my Shokang Palace supposed to host a wedding for him now?
Your Highness, this is what they call a match made in heaven. Even cats know to find a partner. You should also stop worrying so much, and stop nagging the Emperor about his marriage all day. The Empress Dowager was left speechless by my words, and carried Chio back inside. Although she kept grumbling, there was a hint of amusement in her eyes. I patted the dirt off my hands, thinking that using my divination skills to find cats and dogs was indeed a bit of an overkill. But seeing how happy the old lady was, I figured that in this salted fish life of mine, lifting a finger now and then could be quite fun. Although she kept grumbling, there was a hint of amusement in her eyes. I patted the dirt off my hands, thinking that using my divination skills to find cats and dogs, it really is a bit of an overkill. But seeing how happy the old lady is, I feel that in this salted fish life of mine, occasionally lifting a finger can be quite fun. Maybe because my recent search for chili peppers and lost cats was so accurate, Fu Jingyun actually got the idea to learn divination. Instead of sleeping in the middle of the night, he insisted on dragging me to teach him how to read a compass. Looking at him, with his face so full of eagerness to learn, I thought to myself, how exhausting it must be to be the Emperor, that he even wants to grasp destiny in his own hands. Your Majesty, the first step in learning divination is not reading the compass, but learning to empty your mind. You must cast aside all thoughts of state affairs, and all the schemes and intrigues, making your mind as calm as a stagnant pond. Fu Jingyun sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and tried his best to calm himself down, but I could feel that his aura was as chaotic as a pot of porridge. He'd worry about the drought in the southern border, and then about the court disputes.
It's not working. As soon as I close my eyes, it's full of nothing but those annoying memorials. Lin Wanshio, how do you usually manage to keep your mind completely blank?
It's simple. I just think about what to eat for my next meal, or which brick the sun will shine on tomorrow, to make it the most comfortable. Your Majesty, you are too deeply entangled in worldly affairs, so you're just not cut out for cultivation. It's simple. I just think about what to eat for my next meal, or which brick the sun will shine on tomorrow, to make it the most comfortable. Your Majesty, you are too deeply entangled in worldly affairs, so you're just not cut out for cultivation. I casually reached onto the table for. I took his cinnabar pen, and in his palm, drew a crooked smiley face. The ultimate state of divination is not about predicting the future, but learning to go with the flow. If you can look at this smiley face 100 times, and still not get tired of it, then you've officially grasped the basics. Fu Jingyun stared at the smiley face in his palm, and was lost in thought for a long time. He suddenly realized that the absolute control he had pursued his whole life felt so incredibly heavy at this very moment. He didn't insist on learning divination anymore, but simply held my hand, sitting quietly in the study for a long time. The moonlight bathed us both, and all those chaotic state affairs seemed to fade far away. I leaned back in my chair, feeling drowsy. Actually, I didn't tell him that. The side effect of learning divination, besides wanting to lie flat, is that it makes your heart softer and softer. Just like right now, I'm wondering if I should make him braised pork belly again tomorrow. Ever since the Empress Dowager took the lead in learning the salted fish breathing technique from me, the atmosphere in the harem has gone completely off track. Ever since the Empress Dowager took the lead in learning the salted fish breathing technique from me, the atmosphere in the harem has gone completely off track. In the past, at this hour, the concubines would be in the imperial garden, plotting and scheming against each other, competing over whose dress train was longer, or whose voice was sweeter. But now, look at them. Wherever you look, noble consort Li, consort De, and all the low-ranking concubines are wearing custom-made loose robes, scattered lazily across the lawn. My dear sisters, keep your movements slow. Imagine yourselves as withered blades of grass swaying in the wind, with no ambitions and no pursuits. I stand at the very front, languidly waving my arms. This is called bone softening unity. The bone stretching, muscle relaxing exercise is actually something I came up with before leaving the mountain, by watching the old man at the village entrance stretch lazily.
Sister Wancho,
Am I doing this right? Why does the fat on my waist feel like it's protesting?
Noble consort, that is just the pent-up frustration inside you acting up. Don't think about the emperor. Don't think about your rank. Just imagine yourself as a piece of tender tofu dropped into a hot pot, all soft and relaxed. Fu Jingyun had originally planned to clear his mind in the imperial garden, but the moment he turned the corner, he saw all his concubines, like a flock of drunken cranes, swaying and wobbling all over the place.
Lin Wanshou. What on earth did you feed them? Look at my harem. How did it turn into this absolute mess? Lin Wanshou. What on earth did you feed them? Look at my harem. How did it turn into this absolute mess?
Looking at this garden full of salted fish, he was so furious he wanted to storm off, but I knew, he actually felt a huge sense of relief. After all, a bunch of women who just want to lay flat is much better than a group who spend all day plotting how to poison each other. They are much easier to manage. Recently, a strange thing happened in the palace. It's said that in the long-abandoned cold palace, eerie weeping can be heard every night at midnight. The eunuchs made the rumors sound incredibly vivid, claiming that a consort from the former dynasty, who died unjustly, has come back to seek vengeance. A staunch materialist like Fu Jingyun naturally didn't believe it, but he couldn't ignore the Empress Dowager's fright. So in the dead of night, he dragged me out of my warm bed again.
Lin Wanshou, go check it out. If there really is an evil spirit, I authorize you to exorcise it on the spot.
Your Majesty, that takes a lot of energy. You'll have to pay me extra. Besides, how could there be so many ghosts in this world? It's usually just the demons in people's own minds. Carrying a battered lantern, I stumbled my way into the cold palace. I pushed open the creaking door, and the crying sound grew clearer, accompanied by a foul stench. I followed the sound, and in the grass next to the dry well, I found a wild fox with its leg caught in a trap. That crying sound was actually just the fox screaming in extreme pain. And in the grass next to the dry well, I found a wild fox with its leg caught in a trap. That crying sound was actually just the fox screaming in extreme pain. Hey, little guy, your screams are way too scary. You ruined my good night's sleep. I pulled out a bottle of Wang-Gu-Yi's special bruise ointment. As I applied it to the wound, I casually crushed the metal trap with my bare hands. Fu Jingyun followed me inside, and saw me reasoning with a fox. He stood dazed for a long moment.
Is that it? This is the ghost that has everyone terrified?
Your Majesty, ghosts aren't scary. What's scary is the person who set this trap. This cold palace has a lot of contraband hidden in it. You should go back and investigate those eunuchs who have been smuggling jade fans. Fu Jinyu stared at the limping fox as it scurried away, because I cured the strange illness in the capital, and put an end to the rumors in the cold palace. Fu Jingyun insisted on promoting my rank. Not only did he want to make me noble consort Lin, but he also planned to give me half the authority to manage the harem. When I heard the news, I almost dropped the chicken leg in my hand. This isn't a reward at all. This is clearly a plot to make me work overtime. Your Majesty, I lack the virtue and merit, and really cannot bear the title of noble consort. My current title, Consort Ling, is just fine. It sounds like a temp worker, which means zero pressure.
Lin Wanshou, others would scratch and claw, doing whatever it takes to squeeze their way in. But you, I serve it to you on a silver platter, and you spit it out.
Your Majesty, a higher rank just means more work. My current title, Consort Ling, is just fine. It sounds like a temp worker, which means zero pressure.
Lin Wanshou, others would scratch and claw, doing whatever it takes to squeeze their way in. But you, I serve it to you on a silver platter, and you spit it out.
Your Majesty, a higher rank just means more work. As a noble consort, I'd have to manage accounts and people, and pay respects to the Empress Dowager every single day. With my lazy bones, I'm only fit for sitting in a corner watching ants. Fu Jingyun was so furious at me that he paced around the room 3 times. This was probably the first time dealing with such a hopeless case.
What if I insist on promoting you?
Then I'll just have to read my own fortune. The hexagram will surely read, impending doom, time to run. Seeing Fu Jinyu look so helpless to do anything about me, I felt incredibly smug. Emperors always think power is the ultimate reward, without realizing that for a salted fish like me, sleeping in peace and freedom is the absolute truth. In the end, the matter of my promotion was dropped. Although Fu Jinyu scolded me for having no ambition, he still sent rewarded treasures, box after box, into my side hall. I knew he was just trying in his own way to make me happy and paying a little protection fee on the side. Though I didn't get a promotion, I did start a picnic craze in the palace. Today, the sun was just right, so I had servants on the grassy lakeside spread out a thick blanket. Though I didn't get a promotion, I did start a picnic craze in the palace. Today, the sun was just right, so I had servants on the grassy lakeside spread out a thick blanket laden with all kinds of pastries and fruit wine. Noble consort Li and consort Da cast aside their usual dignity, taking off their shoes and socks, to sit on the blanket, chatting about which brand of rouge works best. This is how life should be. Forget about music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. None of them beat having the sun comfortably warming your belly. When Fu Jingyu returned from court, he heard that all the palace consorts were brawling by the lake. He rushed over in a panic, only to find it was actually a peaceful scene of a spring outing. He looked at this group of women who had completely cast aside all etiquette. He originally wanted to fly into a rage, but looking at noble consort Li's face, and seeing her long-lost, genuine smile, his anger inexplicably dissipated by more than half.
Lin Wanshou, what kind of stunt are you pulling this time? My harem is about to be turned into a marketplace by you.
Your Majesty, since you're already here, why not sit down and have a drink? The empire might belong to you, but this afternoon sunshine belongs to everyone. Fu Jingyun hesitated for a moment, and actually hoisted his dragon robe, sitting down beside me with absolutely no poise. He picked up a cup of fruit wine, looked at the shimmering lake, and let out a long sigh of relief. Fu Jingyun hesitated for a moment, and actually hoisted his dragon robe, sitting down beside me with absolutely no poise. He picked up a cup of fruit wine, looked at the shimmering lake, and let out a long sigh of relief. In this deep palace, everyone wears a mask. Yet, at this very moment, on this small blanket, everyone seems to have become ordinary people again. As I looked at Fu Jingyun's profile, I silently sighed to myself. Actually, this emperor is quite easy to please. My senior brother, Lu Ziheng, has been climbing over the palace walls much less frequently lately. Just when I thought he had finally come to his senses, and gone back home to farm, I unexpectedly found him on a tree branch, in the back garden. He wasn't dressed in black. Instead, he had changed into a low-profile grey robe, holding half a roast chicken in his hand. I crouched under the tree, looking at his hesitant expression. I thought to myself that our sex reputation was probably eaten away by his 3 roast chickens a day, and completely gone.
Wanshou, Master said you're here wreaking havoc, and told me to keep an eye on you. Since you seem to be missing a night watchman, I'll reluctantly do you a favor.
Senior brother, what act are you putting on this time? Aren't you taking me back to the mountains to eat veggies anymore? I burst out laughing. What night watch? He was clearly hooked by my hot pot from last time, and totally captivated by it, but was too embarrassed to admit it. I casually tossed a jug of fruit wine up the tree. Lu Ziheng caught it steadily. Senior brother, what act are you putting on this time? Aren't you taking me back to the mountains to eat veggies anymore? I burst out laughing. What night watch? He was clearly hooked by my hot pot from last time, and totally captivated by it, but was too embarrassed to admit it. I casually tossed a jug of fruit wine up the tree. Lu Ziheng caught it steadily, a hint of embarrassment flickering in his eyes. Fu Jingyun passed by on patrol with the Imperial Guards. Seeing someone sitting in the tree, he was about to draw his sword when I stopped him. I told him, this is the premium security guard I hired. He doesn't want a salary, just free meals.
Since when has my harem become a summer resort for martial artists? Lin Wanshou, your calculations are so loud, they're practically hitting me in the face.
Your Majesty, one more bodyguard means more peace of mind. Just look at senior brother's skills. They are way better than your Imperial Guard, and they don't even take up official headcount. What a bargain. Fu Jingyun looked at Lu Ziheng, while Lu Ziheng stared at the roast chicken in his hand. Under the moonlight, the two reached a bizarre silent understanding. I knew the walls of this deep palace, from now on, had gained another invisible layer of security, and I could finally sleep much more soundly. Lately, Fu Jingyun has become obsessed with decluttering. He insisted that in the Imperial study, there were too many old memorials, that they were suffocating him. He summoned me. Under the moonlight, the two reached a bizarre silent understanding. I knew the walls of this deep palace, from now on, had gained another invisible layer of security, and I could finally sleep much more soundly. Lately, Fu Jingyun has become obsessed with decluttering. He insisted that in the Imperial study, there were too many old memorials, that they were suffocating him. He summoned me, not to ask for my advice, but because he wanted to use my 10,000 GU into one's ability to distinguish truth from falsehood. Looking at the pile of documents stacked like a mountain, my scalp went numb with dread. This isn't decluttering. This is clearly an attempt to work this salted fish to death. Your Majesty, for all these ancient, trivial issues, why don't you just burn them all? Do you really have to make me read them one by one? Are you afraid I'll sleep too soundly?
These are all memorials on people's livelihoods from across the country. I worry I might overlook some wrongful convictions. Lin Wanshou, just think of it as helping me accumulate good karma.
I helplessly reached out my hand and waved it gently over the memorials. My GU magic could sense the emotions behind the words. The false reports written by corrupt officials, in my eyes, all glowed with a sickening black aura.
These are all reports on the people's livelihoods from various regions. I fear I might overlook some miscarriage of justice. Lin Wanshou, just consider it as helping me earn some good karma.
I helplessly reached out my hand and waved it gently over the memorials. My GU magic could sense the emotions behind the words. The false reports written by corrupt officials, in my eyes, all glowed with a sickening black aura. With a casual reach, I pulled a few memorials out from the pile and tossed them aside. These are all about fabricating disasters to embezzle relief funds. As for the rest, they are mostly just trivial nonsense. Your Majesty, you only need to handle these few. The rest mostly praise your supreme wisdom. They are too stiff to even use for wiping the table. Fu Jingyun picked up those few problematic memorials, and his face instantly darkened. He probably hadn't expected that the ministers he usually trusted would dare, right under his nose, to play such tricks. Watching his busy figure, I quietly curled up on the daybed nearby. This kind of auditing work is fine once in a while, but if I had to do it every day, I'd rather go back to the cold palace and count bricks. Watching his busy figure, I quietly curled up on the daybed nearby. This kind of auditing work is fine once in a while, but if I had to do it every day, I'd rather go back to the cold palace and count bricks. Fu Jingyun looked back and saw I had fallen asleep. He shook his head helplessly and gently draped his cloak over me. Lately, the Empress Dowager stopped obsessing over beauty treatments and got into growing vegetables instead. It all started when I casually remarked that homegrown vegetables have more spiritual energy. As a result, the Empress Dowager wasted no time. The very next day, in Shokang Palace, she dug up all the precious peonies and replaced them with cabbages and carrots. Squatting by the edge of the vegetable patch, I watched the Empress Dowager in casual, lightweight clothes, happily busy with her little trowel. I couldn't help but sigh. A woman's hobbies really can change in a flash.
Wanxiu, look, do these radishes I grew look much fresher than the ones sent by the Imperial Kitchen?
Your Highness, they haven't even grown yet. It's just your imagination. Still, playing in the dirt is much better than sitting and chanting scriptures all day. The maids were pacing around in a panic, terrified the Empress Dowager might throw out her bat. Meanwhile, I leisurely munched on a freshly washed cucumber and secretly sprinkled some growth-boosting powder on her vegetable patch. This stuff can improve soil quality. It's just your imagination. Still, playing in the dirt is much better than sitting and chanting scriptures all day. The maids were pacing around in a panic, terrified the Empress Dowager might throw out her bat. Meanwhile, I leisurely munched on a freshly washed cucumber and secretly sprinkled some growth-boosting powder on her vegetable patch. This stuff can improve the soil quality, making the vegetables grow faster and sweeter. Fu Jingyu passed by Shokang Palace, and when he saw his mother with mud all over her hands, his eyes almost popped out. He looked at me, his gaze filled with the accusation, "You've corrupted my mother again."
Mother, if you want fresh vegetables, I can just have the imperial estates in the suburbs allocated to you. Why do you have to farm the land yourself?
What do you know? This is called self-sufficiency. Wanxiu said, that soil has earth energy. By staying grounded, I can keep my old bones strong and healthy.
Fu Jinyu was left speechless. He could only squat down to help the Empress Dowager weed. The once majestic Shokang Palace had now become the liveliest leisure farm in the palace. Watching this family share a rare, heartwarming moment, I thought to myself, as long as I don't have to farm, this vegetable garden is actually quite nice to look at. Outside, a gentle drizzle was falling, while the room inside was warm and cozy. Fu Jingyun sat opposite me. The once majestic Shokang Palace had now become the liveliest leisure farm in the palace. Watching this family share a rare, heartwarming moment, I thought to myself, as long as I don't have to farm, this vegetable garden is actually quite nice to look at. Outside, a gentle drizzle was falling, while the room inside was warm and cozy. Fu Jingyun sat opposite me, staring at a map of the capital in his hands. His eyes flickered with a kind of restless spark. I knew that this workaholic emperor was hatching a new scheme again. Lately, he kept feeling that news from the palace gets distorted after passing through so many hands, so he insisted on dragging me out to travel incognito.
Lin Wanxiu, I want to experience the capital's hustle and bustle, and see the truths that aren't written in the memorials. Come with me.
Your Majesty, it's raining outside, and the streets in the capital are so muddy. You go be your wise ruler, and I'll stay here and be a salted fish. Can we just leave each other be? Fu Jinyu didn't say a word, but simply pulled out from his robe a stamped document. It stated that if this trip went smoothly, she would be rewarded with 5,000 taels of gold, plus, at the capital's most famous restaurant, a whole year of free meals. It's raining outside, and the streets in the capital are so muddy. You go be your wise ruler, and I'll stay here and be a salted fish. Can we just leave each other be? Fu Jinyu didn't say a word, but simply pulled out from his robe a stamped document. It stated that if this trip went smoothly, she would be rewarded with 5,000 taels of gold, plus, at the capital's most famous restaurant, a whole year of free meals. Looking at that bright red seal, every bit of resistance in my heart instantly vanished. Mud? What mud? Rain. What rain? In the face of gold and gourmet food, those are just character-building trials. Your Majesty, I think you are absolutely right. As your beloved consort, it is my duty to go down to the grassroots with you, and understand the plight of the people. When do we set off? Watching me change my tune, faster than flipping the pages of a book. He couldn't help but chuckle softly. He had probably figured out my weakness long ago. As long as the pay is right, even a salted fish can turn into a lucky koi. I began to plan in my head what to wear for my trip abroad, and which self-defense GU bugs to bring. After staying in this deep palace for so long, a change of scenery is actually quite nice. As for those conspiracies lurking in the dark, who cares? Anyway, the Emperor will handle it. After staying in this deep palace for so long, a change of scenery is actually quite nice. As for those conspiracies lurking in the dark, who cares? Anyway, the Emperor will handle it. I'm only responsible for eating, drinking, having fun, and doing some fortune-telling on the side. Changing into a simple moon shadow gauze dress, I finally followed Fu Jingyun, and slipped out of that giant cage of red walls and golden tiles. Nighttime in the capital was even livelier than I had imagined. The shouting of vendors and the music of buskers intertwined. This is what real, lively everyday life should feel like. Fu Jingyun wore a black robe, gently waving a folding fan in his hand. He looked like a handsome and charming young master from a wealthy family, but his eyes were habitually scanning the surroundings, making the nearby stall owners think he was there to collect protection money. Your mage. I mean, young Master Fu, look, those are candied hawthorns. I want the biggest skewer.
Fine, I'll buy it. Lin Wanshou, slow down. The streets are crowded and busy. If you get lost, where am I supposed to find a fortune-telling concubine?
I took a bite of the sweet and sour candied hawthorn, thinking that this is what living like an immortal truly feels like.
Lin Wanshou, slow down. The streets are crowded and full of prying eyes. If you get lost, where will this young master go to find a consort who can tell fortunes?
I took a bite of the sweet and sour candied hawthorn, thinking this is how the gods must live. As we wove through the crowd, Fu Jingyun shielded me by the shoulder, afraid I would get bumped by passers-by. When we passed by a fortune-telling stall, a blind old man insisted that my fate was extraordinary, saying I was born to be a wealthy lady of leisure. I smiled, thinking this old man was ridiculously accurate. After all, isn't a lady of leisure exactly what I want to be? As for Fu Jingyun, although he grumbled about the noise, a smile never left his lips. He probably realized too, that compared to the lofty dragon throne, this bustling marketplace actually made him feel more relaxed. Under this sea of lanterns, we were no longer emperor and consort, but just an ordinary young couple out shopping together. When we got tired of walking the night market, we chose the most famous tavern in the capital, Yulai Tavern, to rest our feet. Fu Jingyun insisted on ordering a table full of signature dishes, claiming he wanted to see if the chefs here were really as amazing as I claimed. As we were eating, a few men dressed as merchants at the next table began whispering mysteriously. When we got tired of walking the night market, we chose the most famous tavern in the capital, Yulai Tavern, to rest our feet. Fu Jingyun insisted on ordering a table full of signature dishes, claiming he wanted to see if the chefs here were really as amazing as I claimed. As we were eating, a few men dressed as merchants at the next table, he started whispering conspiratorially. They say, lately, an immortal water has become popular in the capital. Drinking it can grant immortality, and even let you foresee the future. Many officials and nobles are paying fortunes to buy it. I sniffed the air. A familiar scent drifted through the air. A sour, decaying medicinal smell. This is no immortal water. It is clearly my sect's mind-altering drug. A dream of Nanki, and a defective version at that. Young Master Fu, it seems on our outing today, we've actually run into a big fish. There's something suspicious about that water. Drinking it does let you see the future, but it is a hallucination paid for by draining your lifespan. Fu Jingyun's gaze instantly turned cold. He loathed this kind of scheme that preyed on the people, and threatened the foundation of the nation. He shot me a look, signaling me to keep observing. I closed my eyes, my fingertips twitching slightly. The power of myriad GU as one instantly swept across the entire tavern. I saw, hidden inside the merchant's sleeves, medallions. He loathed this kind of scheme that preyed on the people, and threatened the foundation of the nation. He shot me a look, signaling me to keep observing. I closed my eyes, my fingertips twitching slightly. The power of myriad GU as one instantly swept across the entire tavern. I saw, hidden inside the merchant's sleeves, medallions. Each was engraved with the character U. They are Prince Yu's men. It seems your imperial uncle, far away in his feet, has quite a long reach. His reached right into the pockets of the capital's citizens. Fu Jinyu tightened his grip on his wine cup. His knuckles turned white from clenching his fists. He didn't lash out on the spot. Instead, he ordered his shadow guards to follow them secretly. I know that beneath the peaceful surface of the capital, dark undercurrents are already surging, but with me by his side, those malicious forces won't be able to stir up any trouble. Following the clues, we tracked down King Yu's stronghold on the outskirts of the capital. Fu Jinyu wanted to mobilize the army to wipe them out, but I stopped him. Making such a big fuss is too exhausting. It's better to solve it my way. The courtyard was brightly lit. A few men in black were busy concocting the so-called miracle water. Squatting on top of the wall, I pulled out a bag from my robes of custom-made sleeping Gu. Your Majesty, just sit back and watch the show. Leave the rest to me. Following the clues, we tracked down King Yu's stronghold on the outskirts of the capital. Fu Jinyu wanted to mobilize the army to wipe them out, but I stopped him. Making such a big fuss is too exhausting. It's better to solve it my way. The courtyard was brightly lit. A few men in black were busy concocting the so-called miracle water. Squatting on top of the wall, I pulled out a bag from my robes of custom-made sleeping Gu. Your Majesty, just sit back and watch the show. Leave the rest to me. I guarantee they'll all be knocked flat in 2 hours. With a gentle blow, countless tiny Gu insects drifted into the courtyard with the wind. Before the guards could even react, they were already yawning one after another. Clutching their weapons, they collapsed to the ground, snoring loudly. King Yu's envoy was gleefully counting his banknotes when his eyelids suddenly felt as heavy as lead. He looked at me in terror as I stepped out from the shadows, still holding a skewer, half-eaten candied hawthorns. Don't bother struggling. This is called the salted fish flip. Once it enters your body, for at least 3 days and 3 nights, you absolutely won't wake up. Fu Jingyun led his secret guards and swaggered right in, looking at the sleeping beauty scattered all over the floor. He couldn't help but give me a big thumbs up.
Lin Wanshou, I used to think your laziness was a flaw, but now it seems. Reaching the pinnacle of laziness is an art form of its own. You won this battle without even breaking a single sweat.
I brushed the dust off my hands and leaned comfortably against Fu Jingyun's shoulder.
I used to think your laziness was a flaw, but now it seems. Reaching the pinnacle of laziness is an art form of its own. You won this battle without even breaking a single sweat.
I brushed the dust off my hands and leaned comfortably against Fu Jingyun's shoulder. Any scheme or conspiracy is nothing but a joke in the face of absolute lying flat. King Yu's plan was crushed before it could even begin, and all I wanted was to head back to the palace and catch up on my sleep. The rebellion of King Yu was cleanly resolved, and peace was restored to the capital. Fu Jingyun lavishly rewarded the army, and meanwhile, to my side palace, he delivered 10 chests of gold. As I lay on my rocking chair, happily counting my money, Fu Jingyun suddenly walked in, holding a bright, golden imperial edict in his hand. He looked at me. In his eyes, there was an unprecedented earnestness.
Lin Wanshou, I want to abolish all the rules of this harem. I want to make you my empress, so that you can stand by my side rightfully, and gaze upon this great Qian realm together.
I was stunned. The banknotes in my hand almost flew out. Being the empress, that means managing the entire harem, being the mother of the nation, and having meetings every single day. This is the ultimate nightmare for a salted fish. No, 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 Your Majesty. I was stunned. The banknotes in my hand almost flew out. Being the empress, that means managing the entire harem, being the mother of the nation, and having meetings every single day. This is the ultimate nightmare for a salted fish. No, 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 Your Majesty. With my attitude, being consort Ling is already a huge blessing from my ancestors. Being the empress is too exhausting. Please spare me. Fu Jingyun seemed to have anticipated my refusal. He smiled helplessly, rolled up the imperial edict, sat beside me, and held my hand.
I know you hate being tired. So, I promise you, I won't make you manage anything, nor will you have to pay daily respects. You can lie flat however you want in this harem. I just want that. In this lifetime, whether I am reviewing memorials or strolling through night markets, the person by my side must be you.
His palm was very warm, and there was a trace of pleading in his voice. Looking at his handsome face, the hardest part of my heart suddenly softened a bit. Then, let's agree on one thing first. If I become the empress, and having to get up early, I will go on strike at any moment. Fu Jingyun burst out laughing, and pulled me tightly into his arms. Looking at his handsome face, the hardest part of my heart suddenly melted a little. All right. Let's get one thing straight first. If I become the empress, and still have to get up early, I will go on strike at any moment. Fu Jingyun burst out laughing, and pulled me tightly into his arms. In the Great Qian dynasty, the day of the empress's coronation finally arrived. According to custom, I had to wear a 30 ceremonial gown, embroidered with 99 golden phoenixes, and stand under the blazing sun for a full 6 hours. To receive the homage of all the officials, I did a quick divination, and realized that not only is the sun scorching today, but with my fragile, slender limbs, if I actually wore that heavy get-up, I'd probably collapse before even reaching the hall entrance, and die in the line of duty.
Lin Wanshou, All the officials are kneeling outside the hall. Yet you're still wearing your pajamas and cracking melon seeds.
Your Majesty, I'm doing this to save you money. That ceremonial gown is so expensive. What if I get tired, lie down on the ground, and ruin the gold embroidery? You'd have to pay the Imperial Household Department to fix it. How about this? We skip the ceremony, and you just express deliver the Empress's seal to me. Your Majesty, I'm doing this to save you money. That ceremonial gown is so expensive. What if I get tired, lie down on the ground, and ruin the gold embroidery? You'd have to pay the Imperial Household Department to fix it. How about this? We skip the ceremony, and you just express deliver the Empress's seal to me. Fu Jingyun was so exasperated he actually laughed. This was probably the first time he had ever seen an empress treat her grand investiture ceremony like signing for a package delivery. But seeing how I was stubbornly refusing to budge from my bed, he eventually compromised. And so, in the history of the Great Qian dynasty, the most ridiculous investiture ceremony took place. Fu Jingyun dismissed all the